I was reading the emails. Good morning, YouTubers. I was reading my emails just briefly this morning. And one of my stars that's up there said, when we look at them, when you say inspiration, desperation, they look like they're deers in the headlights. Everybody understand? Verstehen, deers in the headlights? Now, this is a guy that's a big fucking hitter. They look like deers in the headlights, Dan. He says, intellectually they understand the difference between inspiration and desperation. He doesn't believe that 4 or 5 of you are here because you're inspired and the rest are desperate. He doesn't believe that. Now, he's known me 20 years. He's been here a bunch of times. And I thought, now I don't have to think about it like you. I didn't have to Google fuck it, tweet fuck it, face fuck it. I didn't ask anybody on Facebook what they thought about it. Is he being too harsh? I thought about it from the time I walked from the castle to here. And it's easier for you to just define or have me, Dan Peña, label why you're here than for really you to admit why you're here. And I hadn't really thought about that until I read the email, and he's right. That lets you off too easily, inspiration or desperation. Because he says, well, some of you will say I'm inspired, and some of you will equate being, I'm inspired because I set my goals too high, or excuse me, too low. Nobody set their goals too high in this fucking room. I don't know why I even said that. Too low. And then it's easy for you to just move on with your life and watch another podcast, buy another fucking book, and you may even Google fuck inspired desperate to see what kind of books have been written. And so he is right. It's too simple. I see, but I try to make it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. And so I'm just looking for 1 word, 2 words because I try to be succinct as I can. And the other part, the second paragraph, and he was talking about his own business. This was another email, actually. The second part was, or the second thing that I got from another mentee's email, is that even saying keep it simple, stupid is, even the acronym, most people know what it means. Our life isn't simple anymore. We're inundated with information. One of the reasons I'm so well briefed on world affairs is I have CNN, Bloomberg, all the news things, and constantly rolling while I'm awake. And I can assimilate. I can play chess, dictate, write emails, phone calls, all at the fucking same time. And know what is on every fucking screen that the news. And I can also read the ticker tapes. So maybe Sally's right. My brain is as big as the fucking planet. But I've developed that over 45 years. Because when I was dodging bullets in East LA and getting thrown in jail, I can fucking assure you that I didn't have, well, I may have had those innately, but I certainly hadn't developed them. And one of the things in my speech that I'm going to make on my 70th birthday here in a few days is that I continue to fucking work at it. And as we said, or I said a couple days ago, most of you in this room wouldn't get out of fucking bed if you had as much money as I did for 30 plus years. Especially, and this is going to sound fucking racist, for anybody's got any Latin blood in you in here. You just wouldn't. And so, for those of you that think that you're here because you're inspired, I don't know if that's a coping mechanism, but the bottom line is, as I said yesterday and the day before, you finally decided to be here. somebody's got a girlfriend or a wife who wrote me on LinkedIn that she's happy that you're here, and that she's looking forward to it being a transformational experience. And if you're watching, you're welcome. I get LinkedIn. We have some military guys coming here next year, active duty military guys coming to the seminar. And I got a special deal for active duty military guys. And so it's kind of like a college loan. They pay for the rest of their life. That's an exaggeration, but I mean, it's a Trump exaggeration. Or it's a Ron LeGrand. And Ron, I can't believe you're not telling people I fucking trained you. God damn it. I mean, that pisses me off. You fucking trailer trash pig. I mean, that pisses me off. I mean, I thought about it and I said, God damn. I used to be his fucking chairman, you know. Anyway, but I don't know. Most of his good shit is my shit. So I just want to go on record as saying that I expect I'm gonna. By the way, Sally and I popped in on Ron about 5 years ago. He was giving a seminar at Los Angeles Airport. He didn't know I was coming. I showed up, and he's up there, and we brought him a Guthrie Castle baseball hat and a Guthrie Castle golf shirt, which you guys are going to get at the end. And the shirt was an extra large, but he put it on, but it only covered up this much of his belly. Okay, but he wore it. Ron thinks he's a good-looking guy. I don't know, and he does have self-esteem for sure. And Ron believes in asking for forgiveness as opposed to permission. Forgiveness, okay. And and he wore that and the shirt like this, and he was telling people, that everything bad happened to him in life after I left was because of me. Then, 2 days later, he went in for heart surgery. He had a heart attack, which I'm sure he blames on me too. He had a triple bypass or something. And but LeGrand is a high performance guy. There's no question about it. And he is a guy that believes in asking for forgiveness rather than permission. But you've lived all your lives. I'm making fun of that, but I also agree with that. All you guys, you've looked for permission. You've looked to please people, and you want them to say it's okay. God forbid, Allah forbid, that you should fuck it up. So if you ask them first, and then they'll tell you not to do it, well, then you don't have to take that risk. So even though I poke fun at Ron, I mean, there's no question Ron is a high-performance person. We used to do infomercials in the old days, and we used to have the midgets, the rice midgets. They were about this tall. They were the supposedly identical twins, but they didn't look too identical to me. And I've traveled with them, and they always wanted to drive, or John, I think. One of them's dead now, but John always wanted to drive, and so he'd have to rent special cars with a seat and all this, and they had jokes. They would tell jokes about their first sexual experiences. You have no fucking idea. I mean, you can't imagine the shit that they went through. And one of them is married to a normal, I think the one that's still alive is married to a normal-sized woman. They have normal kids. When they used to sell door to door. And one would sit on the shoulders of the other so they could reach the buttons. And when they'd open the door, the people, and they'd still look, and they'd still be down like this. And then their joke used to be, even if we were 6 foot tall, we would have been successful. Even if we were 6 foot tall, we would have been successful. I think they were 23 or 26 inches high in the Guinness Book of Records. They were all right. But they used to do our infomercials. And Ron would test the infomercials, and Ron always believed that his infomercials should be better, But every time we tested his infomercials, the fucking results were like this. Anyway, but I started thinking about it after Hector had mentioned it. Okay. And Hector's the one that told me. Hector. Just in case you're wondering how I know all this shit. Yeah. But he's finally stepping up his fucking game, Oh, fuck, that's funny. Okay. What's one of the homeworks that I gave you last night? No, we're not going to read the bits here. What's the other one?
7 people.
Okay, well, that's too long. What's the other one?
Goals.
What?
Goals.
Oh, that's too long. Okay, we're not going to do any of them for the YouTubes. Any questions? I'm not going to ask you about dinner because I don't want to give a shit. But I mean, I should be getting a commission from these places. I mean, because this many people you all went to the same place, right?
Yeah.
Did you go with them, Robert? No, good. There's a reason Robert doesn't go with you, in case you haven't figured it out. God forbid some of your slime rubs off on him. And I bet you were just swapping spit and finger fucking each other. I mean, like crazy last night. Anyway, but we never asked for a commission. LeGrand would ask for a commission, though. Absolutely, he asked for a commission, and then whatever the commission that they were offered, it wouldn't be high enough. It wouldn't be high enough. And remember, you threw the old grandmother out on fucking Christmas Eve. That was his claim to fame. And Hector didn't even know that. Don't you tell her, I mean, goddamn, Ron. Anyway. Oh, God. But I started thinking about all the things that I had done with the Success Development Inc., SDI, and the LeGrand people, Sean Casey, and all those guys. Sean, you don't write, you don't fucking call. I feel like a fucking hooker. And I didn't even charge them, and they fucking go on and they don't talk to me anymore. But anyway, I'm happy for them. And they've been successful. And Ron and Sean have done it in a different way. But Sean is actually a very capable, quality lawyer. If there can be such a thing as a quality... Oh, I was looking for the Dutchman. Who's the Dutchman? If there ever it can be such a thing as a quality lawyer, he's as close to a quality lawyer as you can get. He's a really smart guy from Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly. Okay, if there's no questions, we're going to cut the YouTube off. YouTubers, we'll talk to you later. Some people say I have a photographic memory. I don't. I got I'm maybe 98%. And but when I tell people something, I never forget. And so I sent an email 3 days ago. I gave it to one of my crack staff, and I expected a response within between 30 and 90 minutes. 3 days later, no response. So either I'm getting Alzheimer's or somebody forgot to send the email out to the... And so I checked, and yes, somebody forgot to send the email out because I couldn't imagine I wouldn't get a response. And it's like, fuck you, strong letter to follow. Which is one of my, but now it's fuck you, strong email to follow, or fuck you, strong link fuck to follow, but from the old days. So I forget very, very, very few things, if any. At 2:30, we're having Dom that will talk about a Militz, who's a wealth banker, ex-wealth banker. I don't know if you're ever ex-wealth banker. Anyway, from Switzerland, who will, on not Skype, on whatever it's called, live stream, whatever, that will entertain your questions. Till then, and somebody was asking me on a phone call a little while ago, the group, because the hitters call in, well, how are they doing? Are they as stupid as the... and I go, yeah, no. Every once in a while, a blind hog will get an acorn. Does everybody understand? Every once in a while, a blind hog will get an acorn. And I said, well, how can you describe this group? And I said, well, I'll give you one incident. A guy locked himself in the gym at 1 o'clock in the morning and couldn't get out and had to call my fucking office in Manila. He says, no fucking way. I said, yeah. And he says, a guy locked himself in the gym and called your office in Manila at 1 o'clock in the morning? I said, more or less. Yeah, not the part about locking in, but the 1 o'clock is more or less. I don't know. Fortunately, I was asleep. No, actually, I was awake, and I was trying to fall back asleep after I went to bed. But anyway. And he said, so they're normal. I said, yeah, they're fucking meatheads. And he says, how many have said they want to be billion company, billion? I said, well, most of them. And he laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. He's up there. He says, okay, kick him in the teeth for me. I said, I will. Any questions?
You want to cover that India thing?
Yeah, I got 10 years ago or so, CEO of our Indian company stole several $100,000 from us, and we found it. But the first incident of finding it is that Sally asked to look at the books, and the CFO said she couldn't see the books. And so I come back to the office and tells me, she said, we have a problem. I said, what is it? And she told me what happened. I said, so-and-so said you couldn't see the books. I said, yeah. Now, this is before I knew that they clipped us for $200,000-300,000. And so I went into his office, and I waited till after lunch to make sure there was 300 people in the office. I waited. Now, you'd go have a quiet word with him. And I went into his office, and he stood up, and I grabbed him by the neck, and I said, I didn't even ask him if it was true. I drug him from his desk around the office square with his legs dragging out like this, dragging him like this, hitting his head on the fucking tables, all the way around the circle till I got to the elevator. The elevator was, all elevators in India are busted. Till I got to the elevator and I threw him down the staircase. Then we looked at the books and found out that the guy had clipped us for $280,000 or $290,000. And so we fired him. And then his uncle, and they call everybody uncle there, his uncle came, who was the chief of police or something, came and closed us down, and ensued a huge fight. And we got slandered in two of the big papers. And it took 2.5 years, more or less, to clear our name. They what do you call it? And we had ultimately, the charges were not the charges for assault. They never charged me for assault because life's cheap there. I mean, the charges for whatever the charges they trumped up were eventually dropped. And there's a little one sentence and a link in the bottom of my Wikipedia that talks about it. They said there was a misstatement of facts, is what they called it, which I found amusing. And we still have two big lawsuits, one against the Times of India and one against some other one. But if you go to Bangalore in the IT business with a net scum, I am legendary. Now that's how I handle a problem. And that's how they handle problems. Now I wish that I dropped him down the elevator shaft. Because he bounced and, he didn't die, he just kind of bounced, And for those of you that have ever done it, the way they fall downstairs, that's not how it is in real life. For those of you, and when you hit these people, and when people's going to put a cap in your ass or shoot you, they don't say, okay, Hector, you got any last words? They fucking just shoot you. They don't fuck with you, like that. But that's India. We made a lot of money there, though. A lot of money. Indians are very, very bright, exceedingly bright. In fact, Bill Gates, about the same time, said words to the effect, the smartest IT people on the planet are in southern India. I don't know if that's still true, but there's some smart guys there. Super, super smart. And then we had offices there. We had 2 offices there, and then we had an office in Gurgaon, which is the IT kind of satellite of Delhi. And hot there, hot. The temperature. But smart people, really smart. Did I answer your question?
Most of it.
What's the other part of it?
Part of it was what was your mindset when the charges got trumped against you?
Okay, mine or my partners were devastated. They were crushed. They put one of them in jail. They took his passport. They retained him, put him under house. I mean, all kind of shit happened. And like all my partners say, they waited till Dan left town. I'm on a plane flying from wherever I was, from India, and then they went in and they raided and did all the shit. That never happens when I'm there. Luck, serendipity, or how I might react. I'm not sure. You call it what you will. My mindset is this. If we're at war and I'm there, we're not going to die. Okay, and we got the best lawyers and everybody. Not everybody, but there's a lot of corruption in the legal system there, and so we got good lawyers. Now, I could have dropped the case as long as 7, 8 years ago, but I'm not going to. And so every time we go to court, the judge says, this is a nuisance lawsuit. $100 million lawsuit in India, that's a lot of fucking rupees. That's not so much nuisance. So they postpone it. They've been postponing it for 3, 4 years. But we have a full-time lawyer down there doing it. And it just, it's the same mindset I had when I wound up suing. When I had to sue Great Western. If they would have paid me, I would have never sued them. When they threw me out, they had the right to throw me out, but they didn't have the right to fucking keep all my money. And we're going to talk about litigation as a business tool. We're going to read an email from a cunt guy his balls are about as big as peas, and he sucked up his pantyhose, and he did what I say to do. After a few years of getting fucked around, and he beat him like a stepchild. And by the way, I'm not implying you should beat stepchildren, or I'm not implying, so don't give me all this fucking hate shit, so go fuck yourselves. I'm not implying that you beat him like a rented mill. Those are metaphors, you stupid fuckheads. So, don't give me that shit. But he went in there and he kicked their ass. But litigation, if you don't learn how to use litigation, you will never be $1 billion company, I guarantee it. That's the second guarantee in the seminar. There's no way possible that you can be $1 billion company and not learn how to fight in court. We got a whole 2-hour block on it, I think, tomorrow. And that's why many of you, your personalities are not going to be $1 billion company. Not going to be $100 million company. And that's just the cold fucking facts. Because you can always lose in court. I haven't, but you can. I used to be 268-0 or 291, and I stopped keeping track of it. I count my divorce as a loss, even though I didn't lose in court, but I count that as a loss. That's a Bach ball. My lawyer called a Bach when you're baseball and the guy doesn't really throw the pitch. What's it called? Bach. Yeah, Bach. I call that as a Bach. Yeah, that's exactly him. Sorry, Linda, but anyway, but I have because I learned how, and you hire. I'm getting ahead of myself. You hire the best lawyers you cannot afford. Cannot. If you can afford the lawyer, it's not the right lawyer. Well, in your case, you guys can't afford any lawyer, so I got to change the definition of that because any old lawyer, and not your brother-in-law, not your cousin, not the dipshit you went to grammar school with. Fuck all those guys or gals. That's not who I mean. I mean the big fucking hitters, the ones that Microsoft uses, the ones that IBM uses, because then you're on a level playing field. You're on a level playing field. Now did I answer your question? Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Now, we're going through the steps of we're still in the first step. And beyond common sense, and I find this section funny because common sense is only common experience. But common sense to you, Ryan, and to you, Joe, is based on your common experience. based on your social and economic milieu, your background, your experiences in life. Okay? And yours based with Steve Jobs compare to Steve or myself is different. So what makes sense to you by definition won't make sense to me. And we use Robert as an example. You can see how his ability or his sense of what was right or fair, etc., from the other side changed over the 3 or 4 years that he fought with the people that he talked about fighting with. And it'll change. But you don't have time to grow into this unless you want to make it. See, we teach you how to create enough wealth, the same amount of wealth it would take 1 or 2 generations. A generation, depending on how you want to define it, is 20 to 25 years. 1 generation. 2 generations would be between 40 and 50 years. Well, this is not the 40, 50-year program here. That's the program you've been on now, so far, heretofore. And that's why a lot of you have decided not to do it, because I'm not going to waste 40, 50 years. I'd rather have a good time, fuck around. I'd rather fart and belch and go to sports bars with my buddies. And I would agree with you if you're on the 40, 50-year program. So we do it in 3 to 5 years if you're good. And the norm for my program with most of my people is 6 to 8 years. 6 to 8 years. I mean, to get fucking big, not just to make a few shekel. Goodbye, YouTubers. Okay. We're in the section that the ends justify the means, and as long as it's moral, ethical, legal, and you're not hurting anybody on purpose, maybe in person, but not on purpose, it's okay. We've just had our one of the things that you walk away with from the seminar. It's called the risk taker. QLA risk taker, which many people have used to put on the mirror when they shave, when they're doing their makeup, etc. And it's very successful. It's been successfully used. Earlier today, we did the role play. We did a couple role plays, and during the day, we did a live stream of one of my mentees, successful mentees. Dominic from Switzerland, who has put together his board and had attended the October seminar to give the kids a different flavor for different personalities. And we're in the section the ends justify the means. Now I get asked the question by YouTubers, a lot of people, and I've already mentioned it before. What about my family? What about a balanced life, etc., etc. And I've used this slide, which has come up 3 or 4 times so far. We're only in the end of the 3rd day that Jack Welch said about 25 years ago. There's no such thing as a balanced life. There are work-life choices, and they have consequences. He says it much nicer than I do. But Napoleon Hill talked about it in a slightly different way 70 years ago, or however long. And when Napoleon Hill was asked to write by Andrew Carnegie after a 2 or 3 day interview over the weekend at his big mansion in Nob Hill, he asked, Andrew Carnegie asked Napoleon Hill, would you like to memorialize, would you like to write, the history of successful people, or however he phrased it. And he pulled out his pocket watch, as legend has it. Now, all these guys that are history buffs and manure manufacturers here that are my mentees at this seminar, and he looked at his watch and he asked the question of Napoleon Hill, and he says, Napoleon, Mr. Hill, what's your answer? It took now what Napoleon Hill didn't know is he was giving him 60 seconds to answer. 60. Napoleon Hill, as legend has it, supposedly took 26 seconds to answer yes. I want to memorialize this for time eternal, etc. Then he dropped the other shoe. It's going to probably take you 20 years, or whatever, and you're going to get paid no money to do it, which is much like life. You get the rest of the facts after you accept. Pointing to a Dutch lawyer here in the front row. You know, the rest is more or less history. And one of the things that he found when he's writing this book, and allegedly he interviewed some 500 people. It would have taken me 4, 5, 8 people, 10 people maximum I would have interviewed, and it would have taken me 20 fucking years for sure. Somehow I would have weaseled out making some money somehow. I would have done a blog fuck, or I would have done something, you know, I would have done a pod fuck, and, you know, to make a few shekel in the meantime. But in his interviewing of these people, he found several things, and this relates back to work-life balance. And can I spend my kids and go to the Little League games and all the bullshit? The only man of 500 Napoleon Hill interviewed to have almost total peace of mind, and I equate that from 70, 80, 90 years ago to balance. Almost total peace of mind. Were 3 out of 500. Mr. Burroughs, Mr. Edison, and Carnegie himself, until he became obsessed with giving all his money away. Now that's 3 people out of 500. 3 YouTubers. Now that's a pretty small fraction. So as far as I'm concerned, it's 0. If you round it off, it's 0. This is the richest guy's 500 richest friends. 0. I'm going to say it again. Fucking 0. So the next time one of you cocksuckers writes me about balanced life, I'm going to personally fly to your city and fucking choke you. Or I'm going to send the kebab man here to go choke you because he's bigger than me. The answer is no. And if you're looking for a balanced life, this is not the fucking program for you. I'm going to say it again. The answer is no. And if that's what you're looking for, this is not the fucking program for you. It's not. Yeah, we have 23 souls here. Are there souls in the Quran? Do they call them souls? Yeah, okay. We have 23 souls. I'm going Buddha. Or not Buddha, I'm going Muslim now. I'm going fucking Muslim. Once you go Muslim, you never go back. So anyway. Yeah. For a guy that locked himself in the fucking gym last night. And all these years, we've never had anybody lock himself in the goddamn gym. But that's a whole other story I don't want to get into. We used to have a jacuzzi in the gym. And that's why you're being saved up there in Carrington Cottage. Because some ugly shit used to happen when they had a jacuzzi here. Some ugly shit. But anyway, rumor has it. Legend has there was ugly shit going on when we had a jacuzzi in the gym. It's not possible. You can have balance after you create wealth. You know, Bill Gates' life is a lot more balanced than it was while he was building Microsoft. Now that he's and his wife Melinda are heading up the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But it's really important to understand that. And that's why this isn't for everybody. It's the only game in town, legally, where you can create wealth that would normally take you a generation or two in a few years. And if that's what you want, this is the right model. In fact, in my judgment, it's the only model. Not just the right model, it's the only model. And now, after 23 years, we've got a lot of success. And we've got, as these kids around here would tell you, I got stories and I've got failure. They're more interested in the success stories, but I got plenty of failure stories too. And occasionally I interject one or two just to make a point. But it is possible, whether you have no education or you got high and lofty education, or whether you're from Switzerland or you're from South America. That's all I got to say, YouTubers. Thank you. Good night. We'll see you in the morning.